Today is the 22nd of November, 2014, and this is episode 164. This show is intended for informational and educational purposes only. What cryptocurrency enables is new, empowering, and exciting, but we're not experts, just obsessed companions walking the road towards a more peer-to-peer future. Welcome to Let's Talk Bitcoin, a twice-weekly show about the ideas, people, and projects building the digital economy and the future of money. My name is Adam B. Levine, and today we're playing a game of addition. Cryptocurrency plus the music industry equals disruption for the good of the land. One of my favorite recent developments, this is basically 2014, is the mashing together of the cryptocurrency and specifically the token concept with all of these other things that aren't necessarily money. They use some of the same mechanisms, right? But they're not actually money. Today we're joined by Cedric and Eddie, two of the founders over at PeerTracks, the BitShares music project. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
So can you give us a little bit of a background about, how exactly you found yourself moving into this space of creating a crypto token system that works in the music space, and what exactly it is that you're trying to do here?
Cedric, you know what? I'm going to take this one in the beginning because there is some real history here. And first off, my name is Eddie Corral and I'm from Houston, Texas. So you're going to get a Houston, Texas version. And there's the Canadian version where Cedric is from. So
all right.
we'll laugh about all that later. But it's interesting. I was at the Texas Bitcoin conference, February of this year, March, I think. And I heard Daniel Larimar from the BitShares group. He gets up there and starts talking about decentralized this and that, DAX, and he starts going off about the music business. And I stood up and I said, Daniel, that'll never work. He had concepts of just everybody signing up and, not taking copyrights into the mix. And so we locked horns for 2 days, back and forth. And finally, came to a middle ground and said, you got to meet my other partner on this, Cedric. So that's how Cedric and I came to meet each other. And from there, we've just been grinding away, trying to get through the regulation of all of this. The true essence of the BitShares X platform would work, how we integrate, and just like Adam said in the beginning, how we cross and make this available, to the rest of the world. When you really look at the big picture of what's going on, when you go to these conferences, what does Bitcoin represent in the true space? Probably about one blick. I give talks around the country at music seminars, and most of the kids I talk to are, they have no idea. It's really more what the platform can do for them. And in the background, we'll have obviously the blockchain technology running underneath.
Just to start with where I pretty much came from, crawling out of the forums, really. So in November 2013, I found BitShares. I was looking at all the different 2.0 projects, just as an investor kind of, and just really interested in the potential, the ramifications of what blockchain technology can do for everything, really. Eventually, I just started thinking what brought me to peer-to-peer things, networks, apps, is Napster. I just remember typing in the name of the song I wanted, and boom, 20 minutes later, my 56K connection, I had that song for free. It was awesome. The artist kind of got shortchanged in that whole transaction, but it was great for the user. So I was trying to figure out, is there a way that all incentives could align by using blockchain technology? Created a forum thread on the BitSharesTalk.org website, and people started talking, and eventually I just came up with the idea, had a couple Skype sessions with Daniel Larimar, and the whole project kind of materialized out of that. And then we started talking with Eddie, and that's kind of how we formed, really.
What is the basic idea? What is the picture for the user or an artist who gets on with PeerTracks? What would it look like?
From an artist perspective, you would just log on to PeerTracks, create your account, just like you're creating a Facebook account or a SoundCloud account. You upload your own music, so the music you have the rights to. So this means even the labels could use it. Even Universal, they could still create their account since they have the rights to their songs and create, Rihanna's profile or Shania Twain's profile, anybody's profile, basically. Once you created your profile, uploaded your song, you set your own price, and the way we're using this, the artist has a lot more wiggle room to set his price because 30 cents iTunes fee doesn't exist. So that 30% is now up to the artist. He can charge the same price as before and pocket more profit, which is great for him, or he can set his price 30 cents lower and still make the same amount of money he was normally doing with iTunes. So there's a lot more wiggle room for the artist to set his price. And if he does set his price lower, then normally that's more sales. A lot of people are kind of in the fence regarding download, so torrenting versus buying. If the price goes a bit lower, a lot of people are just going to cross that fence for the simplicity reason. Why would I torrent when this site right here has very cheap music and I know it's going directly to the artist, not necessarily to the music industry? So from an artist perspective, just to sum up, you would create your profile, upload your music, set your price. That's the basics. Now, where it gets really interesting is you can create your own artist coin. So Snoop coin or Bieber coin, whatever coin you want. The reason you would do that is to fund your career and incentivize your fans. So by just creating your coin, you're selling it to your fans, you're pocketing that profit, you can invest that in your own career, just do whatever you want with it. And now that your fans own a piece of own your coin, if they have Bieber coin in their wallet, they now have an incentive to promote you. So your passive listeners have been transformed into active promoters just from a switch of incentives, because now they benefit if your music starts selling on blockchain. So they won't benefit if you sell on iTunes, but if you sell on PeerTracks or any other site that would be using the BitShares Music blockchain, they'll benefit.
Now that's the Canadian version, and if you've noticed, Bieber as his reference of music source.
I love the kid.
That's right. Down here in Houston, Texas, we have ZZ Top and Beyonce. So everybody else is in between.
I'd like to see a fight between ZZ Top and Justin Bieber.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
They'd probably run him over in one of their fancy cars. So I have a question for you. The alternative example would be an artist that goes on their own and issues a token or sells their music directly with a Bitcoin address, such as Nice Plum, in order to get access to special promotions and various things like that. Now, in this particular case, that was done independently. So can you tell me what is the advantage of using a site like yours or the BitShares Music Token platform, as opposed to simply doing this in a more decentralized fashion independently as an artist, either putting up a Bitcoin address in order to sell music, selling music through a payment processor like BitPay, or even using a platform like Counterparty to create a token? What is the advantage of going through a more centralized site?
Okay, so the blockchain itself is decentralized. PeerTracks is just the first site to actually plug in to that blockchain. Just like Copay uses the decentralized Bitcoin blockchain. PeerTracks won't necessarily be the only option out there. A Chinese site could pop up, a Latin American site could pop up, and a podcast site can pop up. Any site can pop up. Now, to answer your question, why would he use PeerTracks instead of just having his own little coin out there? It's kind of like if you look at eBay, you have one site with everything on there. The reason people go to eBay is not just because they're looking for iPod cases. They're also looking for, sandals and shoes and, microphones, whatever you want. So it's kind of like a shopping mall. The fact that other stores are there, other artists are there, benefits you as an individual. Now, the BitShares Music blockchain is an exchange, a decentralized exchange by itself. So an artist coin, say you're a Rihanna coin, can trade for BitUSD on there, and kids in the playground could be trading I'll use Bieber coin again versus ZZ Top coin. And so they're basically using the exact same platform for all trades. And one of the reasons why this has to be a decentralized marketplace is that when an artist has his coin, so if Snoop Dogg creates a Snoop coin, whenever music is sold on Snoop Dogg's profile, there's a part, Snoop Dogg can decide that, okay, when I make $1, I'll put in 20 cents in the buyback mechanism towards my coin. Now, That means if he sells a song, gin and juice for $1, he gets 80 cents directly in his wallet. 20 cents goes into the buyback mechanism, which is buying up on the books. It's a buy order on the books, cashing out somebody that was selling his coin. Let's say his coin is 10 cents. So he sold 2 coins, cashing out that person, and the buyback mechanism then burns those newly purchased coins. So it increases liquidity, reduces supply, and increases demand. So there's natural demand from actual humans, humans wanting to buy Snoop coin. And there's the artificial demand, which is, I guess, would be the buyback mechanism, which is buying it up and burning it. And that reduces supply. So all those mechanisms, Snoop's coin go up in value. So this is one thing that the blockchain enables. And the fact that they're all there together, you can have, the coin market cap of artists, you could say. So if you go to the country section, you could have all the fluctuation of the coin prices. If you see this new coin, that, oh, look at that. In 24 hours, it went up, 75%. Who is this? And you go click and you listen to his music and, oh my God, he is the next insert country music guy that is famous here, because I have no idea who's famous in country. But
you were good with Shania Twain.
Yeah, I should have stuck with Shania Twain. So yeah, if you see the variation, the fluctuation, you could go check it out. Oh, there's a reason that coin went up. Somebody found him, bought a load of that coin. Now it went up. Everybody can see it went up. It's like a decentralized talent discovery.
What we're overall have tried to develop with this site is a one-stop shop for the musician. Right now, the turmoil in the business is royalty payments. How does the artist get paid? The 30-cent situation with iTunes, your 0.001 from your streaming royalties, all the way down ladder. And what appeals to me about the whole technology and learning about all of this is the transparency. If someone buys or streams and there's people to be paid, your publishers, the writers of the song, this platform will pay everybody instantly. You can be paid daily, weekly, or monthly. We are developing a one-stop shop. You don't have to go to Twitter, Facebook, Reverb Nation, Bandcamp. All these other sites, they take money from the artist. Everything you go to on that an artist does, they have to pay for. Now, yes, other services need to make money, but with this strategy and what we're doing, you come to the platform, upload, everything will be taken care of for you in the back end. Now, what does all that mean? And the reason I can say all this, I've got a 28-year career in the music business, from selling CDs out of the trunk of my car to major label signings, and worked with Universal, Sony. I was employed with Clear Channel, over 40 radio stations across the country. And I would see a lot of this where the musician's just not getting his fair share. The major labels only pay an artist 2 times a year. So, they got to bank on concert performances and other areas of revenues. And so we just took a lot of that and put it into a single platform where it's a one-stop shop. In the background, we will be working with numerous email outlets, blast, promotional efforts where your music will be categorized within our platform, and we take it from there. We're going to send it out to the masses. Other areas of the coin, though, you can reward people that buy your coin, your artist coin. You have a new release coming out. You want to get some feedback from your fans. We'll have a live streaming section on our website where the artist can talk to their fans. Tonight at 10 o'clock, meet Justin Bieber live. He's going to talk to the fans. He may even sample music for you. Vote on it, whether it's good or bad vote, you're rewarded coins. So there's incentives for the fans. There's opportunities for the artists to reward their fans with more coins. Coins can be used in, you can trade Rihanna Bieber's against Eddie and the Blowfish or Andreas Blowfish, however it goes down. But yeah, the overall goal is to create a one-stop shop on our platform, PeerTracks.
I'd like to clarify that my band is actually called Andreas and the Blowhards. But I really like the idea of day trading artists. This sounds like it's a part of Royalty Coin. It's part a way to buy access to special things, but it also sounds like it's a marketplace for brands, like an ideas market or a futures market where you can trade different artist brands against each other and essentially be able to do price discovery or reputation discovery for an artist and highlight artists that are new and exciting. I particularly love the idea of being able to use algorithmic trading to short Justin Bieber dynamically.
Yeah, and one thing, so it comes into token controlled access, which I know you guys have mentioned on the show before. So the platform itself could be different for every single fan. You could have, when you go on to, I'm not going to use that example, but somebody find me another artist. Let's take Shania Twain again. So if you go to Shania Twain's profile and you don't have any coins of hers, you might just see the regular normal profile. T-shirt is $10 and, a keychain is $5 and an MP3 is 99 cents. Now, if you're a coin holder, you might see a different website pop up. You might see, okay, the songs here are 50 cents. Her keychain is $1 and a T-shirt is $5. And that can go up as much as the artist wants. He can have as many versions of his site as he can. He can have a VIP site for, 100 plus coin holders, where it's a webcam in his garage when he's practicing his drums or, whatever Shania Twain does for practice. But, so token controlled access comes into play here. Even if we didn't have the sort of buyback mechanism of a coin, token controlled access on the platform can be a huge benefit for fans. And it's at relatively low cost to the artist himself. That's all automized, but you could have the artist tweet, I'm in New York tonight. Whoever shows up to the concert with 200, Snoop coins can enter for free. No tickets required. Just have the bouncer scan your account, your phone, your app, and you're in. If you have 300 coins, then you're hanging out with me backstage. This is all things that are relatively lower cost to the artist, but that can bring extreme value to the artist coin itself.
How much is it to see Justin Bieber jump in the octagon with us?
Yeah, I don't know. We should probably ask the fans or the non-fans.
You said that artists can create a page and make their own account, but is there a cost to do that? How do you prevent fake Rihanna from coming on and just posting her music?
There's the flag. So there's a lot of different mechanisms that are working. We're trying to make as peer-to-peer as possible. So the blockchain is like the internet, so anything goes. We can't control that, but we can't, the websites that are like the portal to the blockchain, they can. So for example, we can have that green check, verified as an artist, which consumers are much more comfortable. As far as buying music, they don't care. But as far as buying into that coin, then they want to know they're getting the real Rihanna coin and not the scam Rihanna coin. So we can have the green check where the service is provided where we actually verify the identity of the artist. And there's also just the flag and report button that peer-to-peer people can, I know this is not Rihanna. I know this is not, my neighbor. That's his band and he doesn't even know what this is. So there's the report button, the verify button, and the fact that people are going to be gunning for the scammers because they don't want to buy into a coin that is not tied to the actual artist. That can be taken down, yeah.
On the back end of that, we're plugged in API-wise to the Copyright Office, ASCAP, BMI, your publishing services. So it's a great question, Stephanie, because we just went through some extensive, not training, but education on the security aspect of our whole platform. And that was something that came up and we resolved it about 2 weeks ago, actually. So, yeah, we will be in touch with the U.S. Copyright Office, ASCAP, BMI, and all the necessary agencies. We're doing our best to prevent those type of scamming events.
So I guess a related question to that is, how do you prevent someone from basically squatting on the names of different assets? So what if I went on and I knew about PeerTracks early before Rihanna and Justin Bieber and everybody else? And I go and I create Bieber coin, Rihanna coin, and all the ones that have the good names. It's almost like squatting on domain names. Have you something in place to address that?
We haven't yet fully tackled that problem because there's two ways to hit it. They're actually evolving right now because there's that NXT method where they just, free for all. You can have 1,000 Google IDs.
But there's a cost to create a new one, as I understand it, on Next.
There is a cost to create your own, to register your identity to prevent blockchain spam. So that's one approach, is just to have ID tied to letters, Bieber or, Snoop. Then the other approach is the DNS. So BitShares DNS, they have a mechanism that kind of prevents squatting. I'm not an expert in that. Nikolai from BitShares, one of the main BitShares devs, little project. I think they have a video somewhere online that explains their mechanism behind preventing squatting of a name, a domain name. We would probably use the same mechanism there. So that, I wish I had an answer for you, so I'm not going to lie. We're still looking at the both methods to see which would be the best.
Yeah, right on. Okay. So I'm wondering, what's your business model? You've said that sites that sort of do have some of these features do take money away from the artists. So how are you guys going to run this, I guess?
Right. We forgot to mention one of the most important things that came out about 2 weeks ago. So since we started the pre-sale, we didn't really know what to expect. And now we can see funds are coming in. So we're going to go directly with streaming right out of the gates. That's one of the big things. It's not just a retail store or an exchange to trade around your coin, but we're also tackling the streaming industry. So there's a million articles online of people complaining the artist is not getting paid from, Pandora, Spotify, and all those. So they're making literally pennies. Now we're tackling that issue. So we would have a streaming website where it's a monthly subscription to stream all you want. And not to go into too much detail about how it would work in the back end, but basically everything is plugged in with who the owners of the songs are. And we have a transparent ledger that tracks by every single song, that now you don't have to wait for the label or the service to, after 6 months, send you a copy of that ledger that says, oh, look, this is what happened. This is what happened. I only owe you $15. So now there's a transparent ledger that's on. We're probably using Hyperledger. So I don't know if you want to link to that, but that's most likely what we would be using. Either that or connecting with Open Transactions when they come out in December. So depending which one of those methods we use, it's in both cases a transparent ledger that we can't control. So PeerTracks doesn't control that. It's a ledger everybody can see, just like Bitcoin. So we can't lie to the artist and say, oh no, you were only played 17 times, where, he's the top hit on the website. So this is one of the business models, is just the monthly subscription for streaming. And then we have the whole, it's also a music retail site like iTunes would be, but it's also plugged into a market to trade around coins and all that. So I don't know, a tangent too much, or if that answered your question, Stephanie?
Yeah, it did. And it brought up another question, but do you take some kind of percentage?
We can't predict the future yet, but unfortunately, so far the plan is to have PeerTracks own as many notes as possible, which are the units of the BitShares Music blockchain. BitShares works a little bit different than Bitcoin, whereas in Bitcoin, I guess the miners get all the transaction fees basically. In BitShares, the transaction fees are spread out through the entire note holders. So if PeerTracks holds enough notes to actually cover our costs with just the fact that we're holding notes that are appreciating in value, then we're good. Otherwise, we'll have to charge a percentage fee. But we're not talking the 30 cents iTunes is talking about, of course, because we have much less. We don't have all those expenses since everything is automized by the blockchain. The market is done by the blockchain. Issuance of, creating coins are done by the blockchain. Everything is done on blockchain. So PeerTracks doesn't really have all that accounting expense and all that market expense. All the, I guess you could say, miners, which are called delegates in BitShares, they're the guys processing everything. They're using their hardware to decentralize the whole network. PeerTracks is just plugging in and reading it and allowing downloads. So we only have to cover costs for the downloads and the bandwidth and all that. So we're hoping the notes would cover that cost. If not, then we charge a fee for the service. But what we would really like in the beginning is for it to be free to get as many users as possible.
That's really interesting. So you don't rely on those fees that you're taking.
Exactly. Yeah, we have just because we have a stake in that blockchain, we might be able to give the whole service for free.
I think you may be confusing the 30 cents that Apple charges as expenses or cost. In fact, I would guess most of that is profit, since Apple is one of the most profitable companies in the world. It's not because it costs them so much to ship music to you. It's because they want to pay nice fat dividends to their shareholders.
Might be true. Same applies, though. Same applies.
I always like to think of ways that someone could game the system here. What if like an artist were to subscribe to the monthly streaming service and then just basically click on play their own song over and over again? And so that eventually they're going to get more basically streaming fees than they're paying for the monthly service.
Yeah, that makes total sense. What the model we're going for is if you Google Flatter, which is an app that allows you to pay money when you're liking something on Facebook. So if you see an article and you click like, and then you see another article, you click like, you see a podcast, you click like. Flatter keeps track of everybody you liked, and it divides your monthly fee by the amount of likes. If you liked only 2 things, then that $10 is divided in 2. So that article you read, that writer gets the $5, and that podcast you liked gets the other $5. Now, if you liked 100 things or 1,000 things, then each like will be spread out as separate pennies. This is kind of the model we're looking into. This is what we're trying to implement. So if you have a $10 a month streaming cost, then if you only listen to one song this month, that $10 goes to that artist that you listen to. If you listen to 100 things, then, that 10 cents is going to every song you listen to. So if you're an artist trying to screw the system like that, you could go on, create your account, or create 1,000 accounts if you want, but you're creating 1,000 times $10 subscription fee. And then all that you're doing is returning that money to yourself. So you're not actually, you'd be scamming yourself, but you won't even be scamming yourself. You would just be putting one point.
That's a song.
Yeah, that's the next song coming out.
Rap song. Scamming yourself.
So does that make sense? You're putting in money and then you're dividing it to the amount of songs you listen to. So it doesn't really matter if you listen to yours 1,000 times. It just kind of costs PureTrack more money because we got to stream it. But that's if you hate us, you could do that for sure. And
somebody would literally, I guess, would have or could write a program, but if it plays 10,000 times, current royalty rate is what, 0.001? Yes, somebody would have to hit it 10,000 times to make $10.
Today's magic word is music. That's MUSIC, music. You've got until the 26th of November to visit letstalkbitcoin.com or the Let's Talk Bitcoin iPhone app and enter it for your share of the listener rewards. As we come to the end of 2014 and my year of volunteering, I'm looking for a few interesting projects to advise during the first half of the new year. If you're doing something interesting and innovative with tokens or cryptocurrency, have a budget and want to secure some of my time as your project grows, send an email to adam@letstalkbitcoin.com to start the conversation. I have very limited availability and I'll be finalizing my next 6 months by the end of 2014, so I hope to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
How do people get into the system? Do they have to have Bitcoin or notes or BitUSD or something to be able to purchase music and stream music? Or what's the entry on-ramp, I guess?
We're not marketed towards the crypto people at all. It's like Pandora or Grooveshark, SoundCloud. We'll be marketed to anybody that likes music, basically, that wants to stream or buy music. So we cannot have, it can't be a Bitcoin only kind of thing. So if you are a Bitcoin person, you can just go buy notes or BitUSD on the exchanges and you're set. But most people aren't going to be crypto people. So right now, BitShares is in discussions with a couple companies as an on-ramp. It would be an on-ramp directly from USD to BitUSD. And that is what is being used on our platform. So we don't want our users to be exposed to volatility. Right now, the crypto markets are very volatile, and that would be horrible if some kid takes his mom's credit card and puts in $20. He doesn't spend anything yet, and he comes back, and that $20 is now worth 17 without purchasing anything. So we want to avoid that at all costs. Everything on PureTrax and on the blockchain really would be done in BitUSD, which would be a market-pegged asset pegged to the actual USD. BitShares right now is in discussions with some on and off-ramp services to go directly from USD to BitUSD immediately without needing to ever know what a note is. Only the crypto traders would be trading that behind the scenes. the BitUSD's peg is all done in the back end by the traders and not the consumers of music.
Right. Yeah. And I heard Dan Larimer speak at the Inside Bitcoins conference in Las Vegas recently. He was talking about the data. It's not like a centralized peg when you're talking about the value of BitUSD versus, it's just that they correlate very closely with, there's very little price volatility in those.
Yeah, it's a couple pennies. So it's all shorting, longing, and market depth. So that's really what's holding the peg together. It's not some centralized entity who's guaranteeing a one-on-one value. It's all done decentralized on that exchange. The blockchain itself is an exchange. The BitUSD's value is pegged to a USD. It's not redeemable for $1. It's redeemable for the value of $1, if that makes sense.
The word pegged is such a funny thing. And actually, this leads perfectly into the line of questioning that I'm going to, which is talking about the relationship between PeerTrax and BitShares. Because PeerTrax, you guys are trying to do some ambitious things. This sounds, again, like you have a lot of things on your table, and yet you're basing it off of a technology that didn't exist in functional form 4 months ago. So, that also leads directly into the BitUSD question. It sounds like you're building this platform with BitUSD at its core, and yet I'm looking at the BitUSD rate right now on, it looks like there's almost no volume either. The rate right now on BTier is about 95 cents on the dollar. So it is a 5-point discount, which is not insubstantial. So, was there ever a thought about doing this not with BitShares? Do you have any concerns about BitUSD? Because it's really a derivative, right? It's not actually pegged to anything. It's a derivative where people are essentially making bets on the price movement of BitShares relative to US dollars. And then they essentially create tokens that represent those, collateralized by 300% of the BitShares held by the blockchain. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's completely right. The original plan was not to use BitUSD at all. We're just going to be using the notes as the new music currency. Our plan A was to have a cryptocurrency just for music. That's, completely volatile. Yeah, so that was the basic idea. Then we came up with the BitUSD idea once the peg was stable. So we could always revert back to plan A and just have a currency for music. But then it complicates things a little bit because we have to warn our customers that are not traders. By the way, you are buying a cryptocurrency. That means volatility, blah, blah, blah. You would have to have a huge legal department. First of all, make sure everything can be done and is legal and, the consumer protection part and all that. So plan A was just having a cryptocurrency that was the note and everything is purchased in notes. Now with the BitUSD, it looks much more attractive to the mainstream, even though the peg isn't perfect yet and there's not much volume. There's a lot of stuff in the works for BitShares at the moment. The whole thing with not having that much volume transferred back and forth, that's something that should be solved fairly soon. And we believe our platform would be actually one that can actually solve that. The other thing is that you can artificially create a lot of BitUSD, a lot of volume. The delegates are like the miners, basically. So a delegate can be voted in with different promises. The only difference is that you can stop voting for him and he's kicked out of office if he doesn't do what he wants, unlike, Congress or anything like that. So the delegates can campaign, I guess you could say, by saying, I'm going to create a massive pool of BitUSDs and try to stabilize the peg. So I'll sell when it's time and I'll buy when it's time. And if that service becomes useless, then, bye-bye. We don't need you anymore. Thank you. It was great. But you'll have to change your service to the blockchain.
So basically, this is providing you with a meaningful utility if it works. And if it doesn't work, then you already have the thing you were going to do anyways. So there's really no downside to exploring this opportunity, at least.
Exactly. Yeah. Damn, you're good at summarizing mumbled thoughts.
So I have a couple of other questions on the BitShares side. One is, you mentioned token controlled access, and that is a big area of interest to me. And I've actually talked to Daniel Larimer about it before. And I had it in my head that you can't do that with the BitShares system because, so token controlled access, for anybody who isn't familiar with it at this point, is the idea that you have an address or a set of addresses and they contain tokens, not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin can be a token in them, but in the LTB ecosystem, we see, mostly counterparty coins. And so a single address can hold many, many different types of coins. And if the system, like if the Let's Talk Bitcoin or the PeerTrax website looks at that address and says, oh, okay, this person has that coin, which corresponds to this type of thing they can do within our system. That's how token controlled access kind of works at a theoretical level. One of the cool features about BitShares that I really like is the fact that it uses a username system without sacrificing privacy. But what it does is it's Bitcoin best practices just for standard users, but that has the side effect of obscuring of something like direct address control. How far along with this platform are you? Are you already tackling these issues, or are you still kind of in the we're thinking it through and now we have money so we build it?
The front-end website is being built as we speak, and the actual blockchain itself is being done by BitShares because we're basically forking the BitShares network. We're using the BitShares toolkit to just tweak it so that it's better for the music demographics. We spoke with Daniel pretty recently and Nikolai as well. And the user, I was worried with Titan, the transfer invisibly to any name. It's a privacy setting, so people can't see your balance and all that. But there is a way, according to Daniel, that you could voluntarily show your balance when you're logging in. So if you're going to Shania's profile, you want to prove Shania's profile that you own Shania coin or Twain coin or whatever. You get your perks, you get your 50% off concert tickets and t-shirts and hats and all that. From Daniel Larimer directly, he says there is a way to voluntarily show your balance as long as you code it in your profile.
Awesome. That actually is very cool. I'm glad that that's a potential in that space too. Let's talk about the actual relationship and the kind of inception here that PeerTrax. What's the relationship between PeerTrax and BitShares? Did they give you any money? I mean, you're not the same company, and I don't think that they even own a piece of you necessarily. So can you kind of talk about, what the ecosystem is like as one of the early players in it who's not Invictus?
Yeah, they basically provide the toolkit for free. The only thing you have to do is give 10% of your blockchain to the TS holders and 10% of your blockchain to the AGS holders. Those are people that had donated to BitShares in the early days.
So 20% is free?
Yeah, exactly. So 20% of the blockchain goes to them. We gave a much...
Well, I guess, you don't perceive that as a 20%. You're saying that it's free, except we have to devote 20% of the token that you are looking at as part of the monetization model. So, that seems like it's not free to you.
Yeah, true. I see what you're saying, but the fact that we get a couple thousand people on board that are happy to see us launch, we've got a bunch of supporters straight out of the gates. It helps in diversifying the tokens everywhere. Well, the last thing we want is a centralized blockchain where the ownership is all under a couple hands. We all know a couple examples of that, and they're not very successful. So it's great to have a community that understands what we're doing. They've been in there for a year, and yeah, they're incentivized to really help us grow. We got a ton of good feedback, some help, and I guess you could say it's a cost. We need to disperse the tokens anyway. It's really not a big deal for us. And PeerTrax itself, the company, that's its own entity by itself. So the only thing we're launching with the BitShares toolkit is the BitShares music blockchain, and PeerTrax is its own regular, brick and mortar company, I guess.
You guys have actually taken the steps to be a legally formed company and have all of officers in place, or that's going to happen. You're accepting money. We've just done a spat of interviews that have been a little bit kind of business basics. Confirm for us.
So it's the BitShares Music Foundation in Texas. It's set up, but it's not yet set up as a nonprofit. We're looking into if that would even be necessary. So that's more for our legal attorneys to figure out.
Yeah. And as far as the PeerTrax Corporation itself, after Vegas, we were bombarded full of VCs. There was an influx of money for that corporation itself. Haven't entertained any of that yet. We knew this was coming. This too, Adam, was coming up with a name. I'm sure everyone out there listening and starting a company, coming up with just the name PeerTrax. We went through Moontrax. We went numerous names, and this one just came out of the sky. Cedric, about 6 weeks ago from the day of this interview. So we've been in a rush structuring, putting it all together. Now, by the front end is being developed, the corporation status is in process as well.
For anybody listening out there that's wondering how legit we are, the good thing about PeerTrax is that it's a recipient. It's not issuing out anything. So PeerTracks is only like, I guess you could say it's like blockchain.info. All we're doing as PeerTracks is reading what the blockchain is doing, which is a decentralized autonomous company. As long as the delegates pump out blocks, pump out transaction, it survives. Okay. So it's just like, the Bitcoin miners. Now, PeerTracks itself only reads what's going on that decentralized market, ledger, whatever you want to call it. So if, say, Stephanie sends 1 bit USD to Shania Twain, we can read that and we say, okay, this user has sent to this specific wallet, and we unlock the download of a song. So we didn't do anything there. We're only allowing a download to take place because we read something somewhere on a decentralized network that we should do that. PeerTracks isn't issuing anything out. We're receiving notes at Genesis block. We're a blockchain.info type of service, really.
And I'm not going anywhere. We've been on this since February. The Eddie Corral Foundation has been funding it to this point. So we're looking for relief. We've got our fundraiser going on, and yeah, we're going to see it all the way through. So I'm excited about that.
So I really like the model that you guys are pushing forward on. I think that makes a lot of sense. I am curious. You know, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen some kind of drama, and not necessarily in music ratings, but Payola has been like the idea of attaching blockchains to actually use blockchains as a trustless way to actually publicly and transparently track something like leaderboard stats for, you know, like the top Billboard 40 or whatever. You know, I mean, like, have you guys looked at any of these sort of non-conventional approaches?
Didn't look at those examples specifically, but one of the plans is to have multiple sections on PeerTracks where you could, I guess you could say, you can consult the billboards. So a lot of billboards are, I guess there's lobbying involved, and it's all about who you know. What happens on PeerTracks is all whatever happens on the blockchain, really. PeerTracks would read the blockchain and say, okay, this guy, his coin is worth this much. This is the market cap. We can place the coin as an order, just like coinmarketcap.com, only it would turn into an artist coin marketcap.com kind of thing. So it's a mix. We're trying to tie price discovery with talent discovery. So you could go to the death metal section and you see the coins listed by market cap, and you could go to the very bottom and just try to see, or you could classify them by who rose the most in 48 hours, just to explore, to find new talent, basically. So I don't know if that answers your question, because I haven't really seen the exact example you're mentioning. We would basically have a kind of billboard based on the data taken from the blockchain.
So a normal user, like a user, you mentioned somebody getting started with this, and Stephanie kind of talked about the kind of scam scenarios where somebody starts up one of these coins as someone who is unknown. And then also we've talked about like the Snoop coin type of thing. But I just kind of want to go through the example. And I guess it leads into a question really about what you think about mobile. It seems like mobile will eventually be kind of a crucial angle to attack this from, because a new artist, you know, isn't really going to have the ability to get their music out there. But if they do live shows, and then they have the ability to easily point people towards, you know, their profile or their page or their coin or whatever in this way, then you suddenly turn every live show that a new artist is doing into a fundraising event and an onboarding event for your service. And there's just like, there's a whole bunch of different synergies here. What is your approach at mobile, and when do you think
we're going to hire you first? You're coming on board.
Well, that's a given.
Those are great ideas.
Well, no, actually on Friday we have a meeting with our main devs. They're basically, now that the presale has begun and there's more funds coming in, we're having a deal right now to have a mobile app being coded up straight from the beginning. So it's not something we'll have to convert to mobile. They'll try to design both of them at the same time. That company, by the way, is BitSapphire. So they're located in Albania and Kosovo. And yeah, that's what we're discussing tomorrow, actually. So mobile is a huge thing, and we want to make sure we have our system, our platform available from any kind of Android or Apple or whatever cell phone or tablet you can.
Well, so Eddie, let me ask you, if that was a great idea, what do you think a normal, like someone who is not a Beyonce, and like what is that person? How will they use this effectively?
I think it's set up perfectly for the independent artist. That's actually who and where we were going to go to first with this. The major label thing took on another life We've been approached by some talent agencies, people who do branding with numerous artists, booking agencies. I mean, it's incredible. But, and you know, I come from the independent side before I ever worked for a major label and went through that route. But for the guy that's in his room or closet, or the new band that's got a small group of fans, this is the perfect platform for them. Somebody that wants a turnkey operation, someone that can put their music up and instantly, but now we have some algorithms that we're writing too in the background that will match your music up with other profiles of other artists. We're going to solicit to those fans on your behalf by sharing, you know, we'll get fan participation. They have to allow us to do this, but that's part of the coin process. Artists got to be realistic too. You know, not everybody's a superstar. Not everybody can probably go sell 20, 30,000 coins at $1 or 50 cents or whatever. So we got to be realistic with that. But there'll be several drop down boxes and examples and tutorials that'll give you the best strategy for where you are in your career. We'll have a questionnaire, some simple things to, you know, who are you? What kind of band are you? What category do you fit in? You have to be honest with that yourself. I've been around musicians most of my life, and everybody thinks they have a hit record. Everybody thinks they can sing. That's why we have these shows called The Voice or, you know, America's Got Talent. I mean, you seen the ratings on these shows? I mean, geez, it's in my prime. I couldn't, you know, people always handing me records and help me get me signed, this and that. But again, to answer the question, it's a great platform to get introduced to a bigger marketplace. And even like a Tatiana situation, you know, it's something for her to come over with us about and join our group, because she'll get a lot more exposure than just thinking you can try to go do all this by yourself. You know, if you do try to go that route, which is fine, you can do that. You know, you're just the lone wolf. You're out there. You got to register with numerous agencies, organizations. And again, we're just trying to make it the best one-stop platform we can.
I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be painful if you're an artist and you put up your own artist coin on PureTracks or whatever, or you make an account and the value of your coin is low, or you're not getting the results that you expect, but it's actually a way better mechanism of feedback than just putting music out there and kind of seeing how much money you make from album sales or how many people go to your concerts. It's way more concrete and it's way more objective, I guess, than just trying to measure by other metrics.
Yeah, you're getting feedback directly from, it's P2P feedback, really. So you can't blame a label for, they just didn't market me right, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. You're actually putting yourself out there on the internet and incentivizing everybody to discover you if you have talent. And if they think you can generate sales and generate merch being sold or concert tickets, you would have to blame your peers for not liking your music if your coin is tanking, because there's no gatekeepers anymore. It's all a peer-to-peer platform where people explore the different new talents coming up.
So PureTracks has a fundraiser going on right now. What are the details surrounding that? You know, what does it get you? And, you know, what's the legal status of it? Is it an investment? Is it not? I mean, as far as your lawyers are telling you.
PureTracks hasn't created a blockchain or anything. And as far as the artist goes themselves, there's not much risk there, because what we're doing, it's not an equity in an artist. It's not tied to a venture. It's not tied to profits. We created a virtual baseball card market, basically. So just like a baseball card, its value is measured by supply and demand. So if a bunch of baseball cards burn in a fire, a warehouse fire, the supply just went down. If people want those cards, then the demand goes up. This is very similar to how our system works. So it doesn't pay dividends. It's not tied to the artist itself. The artist is issuing digital baseball cards with his face on it and his name on it. And whenever he sells music, the supply is burnt. So he buys back up his card and he burns them in a warehouse fire. He doesn't have to wait for a human to want to buy that card, because every time somebody likes his music and wants to buy his music, then a part of those funds are used in the buyback mechanism.
That's right. And he's not charged for arson like you would be in the real world. That's right. He can burn them up. And Adam, too, it's a great question, because on 60 Minutes about 3 weeks ago, there was a story about gambling sites and other things going on. And what was interesting is we're comparing this to like fantasy football. We'll have a chart, so you can group your artists and coins. Fantasy football, there are people like, retiring and just making a living off fantasy football like they do poker. And it's legal. People were asking, how is this legal? And there's a loophole that allows fantasy football to exist. And the model that's being used there is a very interesting model. I mean, that's a whole nother show, obviously, but the baseball card theory, those kind of things. In summer, when we were all hit with the New York regulation and everything, that's one of my areas of expertise, or not expertise, I should say. I take that back. But I've had several conversations with FinCEN, the SEC, and we've gone round and round on all this. And yes, you are correct. The task force and everything. The one thing they don't like is if you don't talk to them. If you're not talking or have an attorney representing you properly and speaking to these people, you're raising a red flag for your own venture. I mean, it's the worst thing you can do. You need to be online with them, let them know what you're doing. We have attorneys that are writing up everything we're speaking about publicly now is being drafted up. We have to make a presentation to them. And, we want to comply. And if we have to file as an exchange and go through that expense, then we'll do that as well. But point, it's pretty much clear sailing as far as we can see.
So if any of your listeners see the value in what we're trying to do, we're trying to displace a multi-billion-dollar industry, make it more efficient, more transparent, more fair to the artists, everything we talked about basically. So there is a way to jump right in and get your hands on some notes, which is the underlying asset of that blockchain coming out. You just go to BitSharesMusicFoundation.org and you'll see the countdown right there. We've got at the time of recording, we have about 42 days left for the note presale. You can also go to peertracks.com and it'll lead you straight to that note presale.
Thanks for listening to episode 164 of Let's Talk Bitcoin. Content for today's episode was provided by Stephanie, Andreas, Cedric, Eddie, and Adam. Music for today's show was provided by Jared Rubens and Gertie Beats. This episode was edited by Adam B. Levine. See you next time.